My name is Jack Moreland, and I'm president of Southbank Partners. And we serve 7 cities along the southern portion of the Ohio River. We serve Silver Grove, Dayton, Bellevue, Newport, Covington, and Ludlow. And we do economic development, but we do a lot of other things with them. And our signature project over the years has been Riverfront Commons, which is a biking and walking trail that is actually about 11.5 miles that goes through all of our cities. And so we're pretty excited about the progress that we've made with that. And we have today, by our count, about 20, we'll have about 27, 28 folks that will be clicked in to hear your presentations. And so we're very excited about hearing all the things that are going on. But let me just say that we've been blessed here at Southbank to be able to work with some great organizations. ORRT with Richard and his folks have worked hand in hand with us over the years. OKI with Mark Polosinski and his folks have worked with us hand in hand and provided for us grant opportunities that we hope we've taken advantage of. So over the time, we've been blessed, as I said, to be working with a lot of different organizations. And so we're pretty excited about partnering with you all because, number one, we want to continue that partnership with the organizations that are here with us today, but we also want to hear all the exciting things that are happening on the north side of the river, plus the things that are happening in the river. So with that, I'll turn it over to Richard Harrison from ORRT and let him give you an overview of what we're doing. Richard?
Well, thank you, sir, and it's great to be with everyone this afternoon. I've been with ORRT for about 5 years as ORRT's executive director. Before that, I worked for Mr. Levin, who's also on with North Kentucky Water District as an executive with North Kentucky Water. Ron is also a past chairman of ORRT, and I invited Ron to join us today. I believe Danny Cleaves, one of my coworkers, is on as well, who works in our biological area. So really great to have everyone here. Just wanted to give a quick kind of overview of this. Certainly, gosh, my days back to Vision 2015. I know we were working on the trail system along the Licking River Greenway. And so when I had the opportunity to work with the Ohio River Recreation Trail folks and really try to work together with ORRT to develop that great showcase of the Ohio River, it just seemed like a natural fit. And then along those lines, I'm helping lead an effort to secure an Ohio River Basin Ohio River Basin restoration strategy similar to the Great Lakes. And so we have a vision for a recreation component of that for the entire basin. And so trail systems like the Licking River system, the Ohio River system, Tennessee River, I believe there's over 100 trail systems within the basin would all fit well. Now I'm working a lot with the Ohio River Recreation Trail because I think it's just a great showcase and testament to how great the river has been doing. And so I've had an opportunity through the years to work with a lot of you folks. Been a privilege. I live in Northern Kentucky, and we reached out to Jack on behalf of the leadership of the Ohio River Recreation Trail and suggested that we get together and just talk. What can we do to help Northern Kentucky? And is there a way that we can add some of the features that you all value and really showcase your great river cities to the trail system we're doing?
Close my door.
Yes.
Some ways.
There's a little background news. So that's all. I just wanted to welcome everyone and really we can get started now. I'm going to turn this over to one of our co-chairs, Brewster Rhodes. And again, it's a privilege to be here. I'm going to mute myself.
Hey, thank you very much, Richard. My name is Brewster Rhodes, and I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of you folks over the years. I'd like to, while we start here, not only introduce myself, but my other 2 co-chairs. We have a co-chair from Kentucky, Dr. David Wicks, and also from Indiana, Jack Sutton. And if I could have the 2 of you introduce yourself, starting first with Jack.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Jack Moreland, thanks for pulling this together. We certainly appreciate the opportunity. Again, my name is Jack Sutton. I'm one of the co-chairs. I reside in Aurora, Indiana. Some of you may recognize my name. I recently retired from Great Parks of Hamilton County after a 30-year run there, and the last 17 working as their CEO. So I know I've met a lot of you, and I know a lot about what's going on in Northern Kentucky, and we're excited that you're having us here today. Just a little plug for Indiana. I just completed a project with the local economic development organization in Dearborn County, doing a trails assessment down here in Southeast Indiana. And not only what's going on here in Dearborn County, but how we can connect to Hamilton County and then obviously to Cincinnati and across the river into Northern Kentucky. So lots is going on in the tri-state, and we're just excited to be with you this afternoon.
Thanks, Jack. Let's go to David Wicks. Dr. Wicks.
Yes, my name's David Wicks, and I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm a retired Jefferson County Public School administrator, director of environmental education for 30 years, and worked very closely with promoting access to the Ohio River. Since I retired, I now direct a environmental education center and a community boathouse on Louisville's waterfront, which was set up by Senator David Carum many, many years ago. And so we have a facility that promotes safe access to the river and an understanding of the value of the river. We're also working very closely with the Army Corps of Engineers for a restoration of our local, well, the riverfront and our stream, Beargrass Creek, an urban tributary. I'm the proud owner of 4 30-foot-long Voyager canoes, which the Ohio River Recreation Trail used last year to paddle from Portsmouth down here to Louisville. We had plans for this year, and unfortunately the virus got in the way. It's pretty hard to social distance with 10 people in a 30-foot-long canoe. So we look forward to the future where we can bring our canoes on up and go to your waterfront. Good friends with Jim Thaxton, who has similar boats up there in Northern Kentucky and works closely on the Licking River. And I look forward to today's discussion.
Thank you, David. I'd like to point out, we'll hear from him shortly, David Rutter from OKI. David is a member of our steering committee. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being on the call, and you'll have a portion of the agenda momentarily. But also like to recognize our good friend Chris Lawrence from the Thomas More Ohio River Biology Field Station, who's been an incredible partner with us and is the expert, of course, on everything about the Ohio. And so let's just to begin, as I say, I'm Brewster Rhodes. I live in Mount Washington, and I'm the Ohio co-chair. And I've had the pleasure over the years of running the Ohio River Paddle Fest, which has become the largest paddling event in the entire country right here in our river cities, with about 2,000 people, as you know, going right by your beautiful riverfront on the way from east end of Cincinnati to the takeout at Gilday Riverside Park. We also do the Great Ohio River Swim from the Serpentine Wall over to Newport on the levee and back, about 200 people, the largest cross river swim on the Ohio. And I've done work on with a lot of nonprofit work, most recently having been the executive director of Green Umbrella, where we launched the Tri-State Trails Initiative, and I'm glad we have Wade on the job over there, working with all of our communities. So that's my legacy, hiring Wade. But look, we all know that the Ohio is the most valuable natural asset and resource we have for this region. It's the reason our communities were founded. It's the source of our drinking water. It's the postcard that visitors send home to folks when they come and hang out here for a while. I mean, it's the iconic, most important, as I say, natural resource that creates a sense of place for us. And over the years, our communities have turned to the river, not in the past, often our backs were to the river, but now the river is seen as such an important natural asset for community and economic development, for recreation, for art. And so we all, as river rats, I live part-time. I still do, on a houseboat on the Ohio. Now it's in Cincinnati, but I used to be, frankly, in Covington, where Alan had his BB River boats, and now in Newport. So I was a part-time resident of those two communities. I think I probably still owe you some taxes over the years, but please don't come after me. And so our collective love of the river, those of us who are co-chairs, has led to, you know, when you spend 36 hours in a canoe from Cincinnati to Louisville nonstop, you have a lot of conversations at 3 in the morning. And we did that 2 years ago, and our vision ended up becoming one of, gee, can't we create a destination trail from Portsmouth to Louisville that people throughout the Midwest and frankly nationally come to see ultimately as a destination for adventure tourism. The concept that you can get in a powerboat and travel 275 miles and stay overnight at beautiful river communities, enjoy all the assets that they have there with restaurants and breweries and their beautiful natural riverfronts, their trails, their campgrounds, etc. Same thing with paddlers, same thing with cyclists. And as people with COVID are thinking, gee, instead of going out to Colorado or going to Europe, I ought to find a place maybe closer to home where I and my family can more safely do fun outdoor recreation, like taking an overnight paddling trip down to Aurora, spending the night on the way. So it led us to think, gee, how would we develop the concept of a necklace of beautiful river towns, each with their own incredible assets, where we can work with those river towns that don't already have the assets that are attractive to outdoor recreation folks, boat ramps, campgrounds, trails, marinas for overnight transient dockage, etc. How can we work with those communities to even further develop their assets so that then we have even more to sell? And you guys have been doing this for years. This is not new, of course, to you or frankly all the other communities, but you have so many assets that you already have in place in terms of the riverfront access, the entertainment, the way you've all turned to the river over the years, the housing development, other economic development is astounding. So what we want to do is frankly do a better job of helping to market what you all have to offer folks locally, regionally, around the country who would be interested in coming and spending money and time exploring this great corridor. So what I thought would be helpful is if we, to get started, took a little gander, a little look, if we can, at the Ohio River Recreation Trail website. If I can find it. Oh boy, don't tell me here. To share with you just briefly, because I think it would be helpful to make sure you all understand what we have to offer. So here's the homepage of our website. Very straightforward. That's one of our canoes that we took. We had 30 people taking a 5-day trip from Cincinnati, from Louisville, actually from Portsmouth all the way down this past year. And then we have a little video here, which I'd like to quickly run down. Can you all hear that? Can you see it? Or are we being blocked?
No, you're okay. On my end.
You'll recognize some of these images here. It's just 3 minutes.
Brewster, there's no sound.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's stop that. Forget it. Sorry about that. We're going to move on and go to the next piece. I apologize if that doesn't work properly. So the website, OhioRiverRecreationTrail.org, obviously tells you all you need to know about this organization, about our vision, our goals, about what we do with how we promote boating, how we promote cycling along the river. But this is our vision. This is, of course, the stretch that we're dealing with all the different river towns. Not every single one of them, of course, but it'll give you a feel for the breadth of the river that we are working with and engaging. And we have worked with every single one of these river communities, meeting with many of them face-to-face in their communities, staying in regular touch with their leadership. And then again, trying to create this trail that as I say, we envision being a destination trail for folks interested in outdoor recreation as a way of promoting travel and tourism and economic development in this corridor, building on what's already there, the assets. We have a whole section on the Ohio River itself, the history of the river, the water quality issues. We have maps up the wazoo of the river. So anybody who wants to know about the river, we got at least a lot of stuff in here that folks would find attractive and helpful as they think about planning trips, etc. We have a whole section on the river towns, and all of you are in here already. A little, again, a breakout, Cincinnati upstream, but basically downstream. And then we have, and it should come up in a quick second. Why isn't this coming up? Man. Well, it always works fine on when I show it on myself, but if you go to this town page, you will see we have every town on the Kentucky shoreline, the Ohio, and the Indiana, with a link to each of your community's websites, so that folks who are traveling can check out your websites, many of which, and frankly, not all of which, unfortunately, have information for tourists about where they can stay, what they can do while they're in town. And so the next step for us is to further develop links that will help folks go directly to the travel and tourism sites for the communities that have essentially very appropriate sites for their city government, but that may not provide the information that tourists are looking for. But the bottom line is all of you are tied in, and I don't know why it doesn't work properly here. And then we have a whole section on events, and of course, these events have had to be constantly noted as being canceled. But for every one of the communities that have interesting events up and down the river, we highlight them with links and people can find out more about what's going on. We had all of the Newport Festival Park events, for example, but I kept having to can them as you all made the same decision. We have a section here about our partners. And we got started, as I say, in a partnership between David Wick's River City Paddle Sports Organization and Adventure Crew, which is the beneficiary and sponsor of Paddle Fest, and I'm on the board of that organization. We've had a very tight early relationship with REI, which provided us some seed money. They've been just marvelous. And of course, OKI has been deeply committed to this project, and David has been our point person. And of course, this connects to their agenda, especially when it comes to alternative transportation, as we promote the interconnectedness of these communities by trail. And we're most excited about the partnership we've developed, an official partnership with the National Park Service's Rivers Trails and Conservation Assistance Program, which Jack Sutton will talk about momentarily. But we did get an official, we applied. There were 18 applicants from the southeast region of the United States, and we were scored number 2, just a point behind number 1 in the whole region. And that gave us access to the professional technical assistance time of 2 wonderful people, one out of Russell Clark out of Mammoth Cave, and Andrea Ireland, who some of us in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky know. She's out of the Cuyahoga National Park, but she played a key role in the development under Jack Sutton's leadership, actually, when he was chair of Tri-State Trails, of developing Tri-State Trails in the region. Then you can see we have a number of other, about 50 official partner organizations, including Kentucky Fish and Wildlife, ODNR from Ohio, and the DNR of Indiana, plus a number of communities, including many of yours. And Mayor Baker, thank you very much for your partnership officially with the city of Dayton, with Newport. Thank you so much for Newport being one of our most recent partners. And then we also have, of course, Kenton County Parks and Rec. We have Big Bone Lick Historic Site. We have Boone County Conservation District and Boone County Conservancy, and a number of other organizations, including Kentucky, Thomas More or Sanko, and you can see a great number of organizations up and down the river, communities, including the city of Cincinnati and the city of Louisville, a number of other organizations. So we'd like to invite each and every one of your communities to become official partners. It doesn't cost a dime. What we do is have your logo, have a link to your website, and consider you a partner and communicate regularly with you. And there is a special spot here on that same page where you can officially sign up to become a partner with our operation. Just fill out the form, send it to us, boom, you're in. It's not a challenge. We do have information about safety on the Ohio, which also includes information about real-time river conditions, velocity, of course, the weather forecast, the stage of the Ohio, so that power boaters, paddlers can, with a one-stop shop, know what they need to know in order to safely make use of the great asset that we have here in the Ohio, with a bunch of safety tips, information about locking through, etc. So it's all there, but I wanted to make sure you all knew that we had a resource. We have a resource that we believe is doing a good job in sharing with the general public worldwide about this wonderful set of this asset we have, and all the different communities along the river how they can find out more about each one of them, what the recreational amenities are, etc. So that's basically an overview of the organization. We've had a series of stakeholder meetings up and down the Ohio over the last 2 years, engaging input. We're working closely with the Army Corps, with in addition with the National Park Service, with the Coast Guard, with nonprofits that are also working to help improve water quality and do general public education about the river, because one of our goals as well is to encourage more and more people and communities to be even better stewards of this great resource that we have. The cleaner and more ecologically sound and safe the Ohio is, the more attractive it will be for recreation. So now I'd like to turn this over to a wonderful partner with us. So David Rutter with OKI is their watershed manager, a fanatic paddler and cyclist who is, I think David paddled from Columbus to Cincinnati by way of the Scioto River over time. And so he knows what he's talking about. So David, could you take a moment and share with us the digital guide and how that works and how communities can upload their points of interest that may not already be on there and how the guide operates? Thank you.
All right, I will do that as soon as you unshare. Okay, now we can do this. And I've paddled from Columbus to Louisville. So
oh my God, sorry buddy, I missed that.
With our paddling on the Voyager canoes, that included then that length. But I have done Columbus to Cincinnati in a kayak. All right, so let's get this shared. And Brewster, I'm going to go ahead and share that towns page because it popped up for me finally, what it looked like. So in the river towns, this is what it's looking like. It's just the cities kind of as they occur, starting upriver with Portsmouth and heading down. And if you click on them, it links to your towns.
David, could you click, for example, on Dayton?
If I know where Dayton, there
Right
we
there.
go. So clicking on the link will bring you to your community's website.
Yeah, just a way of plugging for Mayor Baker, how wonderful the website is actually. They really highlight trails in the river. It's really attractive.
Thanks for noticing, Brewster.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving to the digital guide. So on the digital guide, if you were paying attention as Brewster was clicking around the website, up here in the top, you've got a quick link button. If you hit the digital guide, it'll bring you right to this page. And on this page, we've got a short video. If you want to learn how to use the guide quickly, it's a little over 3 minutes to do that. We're not going to watch that right now. We're just going to dive right into the guide. When you click on Explore the Guide, it's going to ask you to select your mode, whether a boat or a bike. Given that trails are such a big conversation and a link among your Northern Kentucky communities, we're gonna go in first as a bike. You also, the disclaimer language that's there, one of our initial paddlers on that trip that came up with this vision for a trail connecting all these towns was a lawyer. And she was very clear, we need to have something right up front that says, this is great information, but if you get hurt or something happens, you're on your own. So click agree. You'll notice that I'm sitting here across the river from you at the Sawyer Point building at OKI. And because we selected bike, we've got a little bike emblem. If you come up to the corner, you can turn that off. If you're sitting at a desktop, I recommend going ahead and turning off the location services. And you'll only get that if your location services are on. So if on your phone you have it blocked to your browser not being allowed to access your location, you won't get one of those emblems popping up. But when you're using a desktop and you're wanting to explore, if you don't turn it off, every few minutes it keeps snapping you back to your location. So we're going to just zoom out here. Because I'm in Cincinnati, that's where it was going to zoom. If I were in Louisville, it would have zoomed into my location in Louisville. If you don't have location services on, it does zoom to or opens up in the Cincinnati area because Cincinnati's about halfway between Portsmouth and Louisville. And so you can see we've got all these different points. Some of them are navigational based. So for instance, Port of Cincinnati, CVT, just showing you where those are at. For each of the communities, we click on the emblem here, that will pop up and say what community that is. Also, again, here we have the links to the community website or the tourism website. If depending upon some communities, their tourism website is much more robust with what's going on in the community, and they'd rather have that be their link. So if you have preferences on websites that you would like included in your link, that would be information to include. And an easy way to do that as you're exploring the guide is to come down here and suggest an edit. And what that will do is we'll pop up an email for you that will come to me, and you want to be as detailed as possible on which point and what the edit is that needs to be changed within that point. So that's an important piece. So in terms of navigating around, if you come up to the layers piece up here, you can uncheck all of those boxes. Say there's certain things, you know, you're not interested in where the campgrounds are at, you just want restaurants, and that's the only thing you want. So you can turn everything off real quick and then just turn on your restaurants. Now, as I've done that, I want you to notice that there's not a lot of restaurants that have popped up on the Northern Kentucky side, even though there are a ton of restaurants along the Northern Kentucky shore. And that's where, as this guide is being a living, breathing document, a living, breathing tool of getting assistance. So, because we're limited on staff time and being able to go out and find those. If there are things that are critical, or not, I should say critical, but very emblematic of your community that you want highlighted on the guide, you can go in here and up to these 3 lines up here. I'm going to close the layers for a second. Called the hamburger. And in the about, you can go down and, or I should say at the top, it says suggest a new point. If you click on that, it will take you to a page that pops up, and it's very straightforward what the date is. You'll select what kind of point it is, access point, campground. You know, if it was a restaurant that you're wanting to, uh-oh. I'm going to have to get with our person. I don't see restaurant on there. That's a bad example. So a campground. Campgrounds are one of the ones that would have additional amenities associated with it. And so if it has a boat ramp, if it has, I mean, if it's campground, obviously it should have camping, dock, fuel, and you can just click on those points, the name, the address, the city, which state it's located in, all of the contact information, the website if it's associated. And this is an important one because if you select that the point is only recommended for bikes, if you enter as a boat, that point will not show up. If it's something that's exclusive to boats, then you select that one. And if you're coming in as a bike user, it won't show up at that point either. Or if it is something that is accessible to both boaters and cyclists, you want to click both. Short description. If you've got an image, that's great. Recommend if we can do that. That helps with offsetting that point. Put all that in, put your name in. If you hit submit, then that goes into a database, and all of the information is laid out in the format that we need to be able to push that point out into the guide. And so we review that information as it comes in, and make, as long as everything is appropriate within that, then we can push that out into the guide and include new points. And so this is a way for you to, as a community leaders, to help in shaping and what's on the guide for your community. There's also another place to suggest new edits, and that's back on the page itself, the landing page for the guide. And if you click that again, that's again going to take you right into the to that same form. So let's go back here. We're going to go back to the guide, and because we're coming back into it, comes in saying, whoop, we came in as a boat. except we didn't. It said bike, and it's showing all the bike trails, but we've got the kayak. Funny little glitch. I'm gonna check some. See, oh, we are bike. So if I switch to boat, so you see how some of the points changed. Actually, we don't have all the bike routes and all. Oh, let's check all of them. We'll show you how it changes with switching between the users. So you see a few more points, the marinas and things pop up. And when you go back to bike, the marinas go away, and now we got the right emblem back there. We're going to turn off location services again. Also within the layers section, so all of these are the points of interest along the way. At the bottom, you can also turn on and off certain things if you're not interested in where the commercial marine highway is. And that's basically the primary navigation channel, which is useful if you're boating, where you're most likely to encounter your larger boats. Turning off your port facilities will take those out. And then this is and we're going to throw in the river mile markers too. So the real-time AIS, and I'm going to change our user mode back to boat. So the AIS is the automatic identification system, and it tells you the location of where your barge traffic is at. And so this one has been Mark Polisinski, our CEO, one of the things he was most interested in helping with safety on the river. So here you can see it's pointing in the direction the barge is traveling, gives you the speed that it's traveling at, and when this point was last updated. So they'll update every couple of minutes, usually no longer than 15 minutes, quite often as soon as every 30 seconds. You'll get an update on where that particular barge is at. So for me as a paddler, this has been a wonderful tool to have out on the water, just to know, is this a safe time for me to cross over to the other side of the river? You know, it's a wide river I'm paddling, and I generally paddle like crazy when I'm crossing. So I want to know that I've got time to do that and it's safe, and I don't want to put myself or anybody else at risk. So that's kind of the overall general elements of the guide. You can see we are currently within that Portsmouth to West Point, Kentucky. The vision on this, and it is designed in such a way that it can be expanded. My hope and my dream is that someday we go from Pittsburgh to Cairo with the entire river represented on the guide, and it also has the capability to incorporate points for all of the other water trails for the tributaries as well down the road, that information could be uploaded and added into it as well.
David, we have an interactive tool on our side of the river that highlights our cities that I'd like to connect to you. It's called nkyriverfrontcommons.com, and it really does a decent job of highlighting our cities, much similar to what the Trail Town document that probably we talked about a while ago does. So it's important that we get attached to your document, and people can shop around and do a lot of things in Northern Kentucky.
Okay, I will get with our GIS person that built this and see if we can't, because it sounds like you want that in addition to each community's website.
If it's just a link, it talks about current construction of riverfront commons and things of that nature. So I think it's a little more comprehensive. Maybe it really looks at all the cities as opposed to just maybe one city at a time.
Yeah, and I think we definitely want to do that to include. I just want to make sure that each community still has the ability to link to their own website within that. So I'm not sure we have the ability to link to websites within a point without some jiggering of the guide itself, but I don't think that will be a problem. And I think it's important that we have that larger riverfront link associated, and we can put that then on each community's pop-up so that that's there as well.
And Jack, we do have plans to build on the towns section of the site where we would be able to have a special link to what you have, a special link to Tri-State Trails, special links to other major sort of community information sites that for other communities up and down the river, separate from the listing that goes to the link that goes directly to the official community's website. So excellent. So ultimately, we want to be able to have this site be one where people can sit at their desktop and plan a trip for 4 or 5 days, a month in advance, and be able to have all the information that that you would want them to have, your communities would want them to have about those communities, so they would be able to say, okay, great, I'll stay in this hotel while I'm cycling, right? And gee, if I'm paddling or taking a power boat, I can figure out a place to spend the night at a marina nearby, and well, have the boat stay there, but you stay in nicer accommodations, right? In one of your hotels, bed and breakfast, eat at the restaurants, enjoy, bring their bike on their boat, which they often do. Okay. So thank you very much.
As
David,
well as
yeah.
the user who's just on the water and maybe is ready to stop, but even though that wasn't where they planned, so they know what's available right there where they're at.
In real time, exactly. So the Coast Guard loves this site. It's the first one they have seen that incorporates, for recreational power boaters and paddlers, the AIS system, which again is huge for safety on the river. So they frankly want to have that feature be on every inland waterway in America available to recreational boaters. So they love it, and it's a great partnership. So I think we should continue to move on. And what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Jack Sutton. Jack, talking a little bit more about our National Park Service partnership and the Rivertown Review Program. And then also if you could share with them, and by the way, the National Park Service staff person, Andrea Ireland, is planning to join us at 5 because of prior commitments. So we can hold questions for her afterwards, but there is a special program that people can apply to get technical assistance that is at the community level, not just river-wide as we now have. So Jack, take it on.
Great. Thanks, Brew. As Brew mentioned, we have a partnership with the National Park Service, and it started about 12 months ago, and we're going to have them for approximately another year. And one of the manifestations of their help is directly related to one of our 3 key goals, and that's to assist river towns to maximize outdoor recreation on and near the Ohio River to promote healthy lifestyle and physical activities. So outdoor recreation. And what we've come up with this year is a program called the Rivertown Review Process. It has 5 key components, but just to lay it out there, about a dozen or so communities applied to us during the summer, and the National Park Service vetted those applications, and we selected 3 key communities for the fall. We have a few more scheduled for next quarter, first half of 2021. And then we're also doing a pilot program with 3 communities across the river from Louisville. But right now, we're working with New Richmond, Ohio, Rising Sun, Indiana, and Carrollton, Kentucky. In fact, we completed the on-site portion of New Richmond's program last week. So here's how it works, is we're working with a key official in that community. They're gathering stakeholders and community leaders, and we're putting together what we're taglining is a fresh eyes on your community. Literally has a secret shopper program. We do a lot of on the ground assessment. So the secret shopper program, for example, go online and recruited college students from Thomas More and some of our team members to literally scout out what those communities offer online. If I were going to take a 2-day trip to Rising Sun, where would I stay? Where would I eat? What are the things I would do related to outdoor recreation? So we do that assessment in advance. Then we hit the ground and literally talk to the community leaders, talk to visitors, talk to residents about what they offer. And then we wrap that up with a community discussion. So for example, last week we did our community discussion with Richmond. It was a Zoom call as well as in the room conference call. We had over 30 people on our discussion, and it was tremendously productive. We did a SWOT analysis, all of this led by the National Park Service. We also have a team member with us who represents the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. So their geotourism leaders, team members out of Colorado, are also teaming up with us so that we can highlight their assets, if you will, on the Ohio River here, what is the eastern leg of the Lewis and Clark Trail. So those are the three things we do. Then the National Park Service are going to wrap this up with a written report, a deliverable. Those will be handed to those communities by mid-December of this year. And then next year, we're going to have basically a Rivertown Summit. Not sure when or where or how that's going to happen given COVID, but the plan is after we go through our second round of communities next spring, in the summer, hopefully we do this River Summit, bring those communities back together, and it's really a best practice sharing session. So the key thing for this for our river community is it's free. Because of our partnership with the National Park Service and our volunteering, all of this is free resources to these communities, again, bringing a fresh set of eyes to those communities. Now, I want to give a little plug to the National Park Service River Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. This is something not many communities are aware of. You know, we all love our national parks. I'm a huge fan of the parks, but we can actually bring the parks to us through this Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. All you have to do is apply, and you can go on their website and learn a little bit about it. But for an example, the outcome, Tri-State Trails was a product, if you will, of that program about 6 or 7 years ago. And now Tri-State Trails is a leader in our 10-county region and helping communities advocate for trail projects. So we're teaming up with them for the Ohio River Recreation Trail. I want to make all of our friends here in Northern Kentucky aware of this program. You can go to their website, you can learn about it, and hopefully Andrea will be able to join us before we all break away. The other contact is Russ Clark. Really, you can go on their website and find a contact person. And what they're looking to help is communities with park projects, trail projects, waterway projects, essentially outdoor recreation that have community benefits. It's a wonderful resource, and it's available to communities immediately and going forward. So that's our overview of the Rivertown review process. We're just learning of getting ourselves underway, but we think it's going to be a great asset for these small town communities. Back to you, Brew.
Thank you, Jack. And so we're doing 3 of these communities plus a separate pilot for multiple community collaboration in New Albany, Jeffersonville, and Clarksville across the river from Louisville. That's a separate initiative. It's our 4th Rivertown review project, and we'll be doing that later this fall. But it gives us a chance to experiment with how we can promote collaboration between contiguous communities. You all are doing that right now through Southbank. I mean, this is nothing new. You've been doing this for years, and in some ways, you guys are the model for what other contiguous Rivertown communities should be doing. And what we'd like to do is help share your best practices with those folks, for example. But we'll be doing 3 more Rivertown reviews, communities in the late winter, early spring, and maybe 3 more in the next summer. But we do plan to, as Jack says, bring all those folks together, plus communities that didn't go through that process, to do a deep dive. It'd be a day-long, hopefully face-to-face meeting, and maybe one of your communities could host it. But we'll put an RFP out there and see who wants to bring all the other communities together. It'll include the mayors, economic development directors, their travel and tourism managers, folks who are involved in outdoor recreation, whether it's rowing or paddling clubs or cycling clubs. The Coast Guard will be there, the Army Corps. Of course, the National Park Service and other nonprofit partners. So we'd like to include every one of your communities. We want them to be well represented and to share at that event what you guys are doing and why you're doing it and what the results of what you are doing have been to basically tip off other people about, hey, this works. It really does. And we'd be glad to be advisors to you all if you want to take us out for a beer, right? Okay, so moving right along, I want to give David Wicks an opportunity as our other co-chair to chip in based on all of his experience working on the river over the years, and especially with the work that's going on in the Louisville region. David.
Well, thank you, Brewster. It really is exciting, and similar to South Bank Partners, the 3 towns in southern Indiana have the Southern Indiana Tourism Board, and they're the sponsors of the Rivertown Review. And as Brewster said, we're working with the 3 towns, their mayors and county and the county judges. We have 2 counties that we're working with, and it really is exciting to see the projects that are going forward. In an earlier conversation that I had with Jack when we first got online, a good friend of mine, Senator David Karam, has been so involved in creating our waterfront, and people sort of in Louisville, and people look at what they've done, and it just seems mind-boggling to try to tackle it. But what we find this does is it really builds that community support, because, you know, great ideas take everybody buying into that. And so I can't say enough for that collaboration. Another part that I'm fascinated with is the impact for education. So often these common stories that we all have aren't shared with our young people. And how can we really think about having impact upon our public education and our private schools? And so that's what we end up doing here in Louisville. I think Brewster has another example where he has the adventure crew of working with high schools in Northern Kentucky and in Cincinnati area that bring kids out for adventure. We tend to be, as we are right now, you know, driven by technology, driven by computers. And it's our goal to really have some real experiences that are safe. You know, and I can't emphasize enough what David Rudder talked about with safety on the river. And so the that AIS, the real-time barge traffic, is so crucial. But also embedded in that is our safety procedures that have been reviewed by the Coast Guard and by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Just in the past year, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has hired a full-time program ranger for the Ohio River, Lisa Freeman. And so they're starting to realize that the Ohio River is not only a transportation corridor for our economic engine, but it is a recreational venue. You know, the Army Corps of Engineers is the largest provider of outdoor recreation based on water in the United States. The Army Corps has more land than the National Park Service does for outdoor recreation. And so what our goal really is to engage those Army Corps of Engineers folks, not only for the restoration efforts of along our creeks, but how can we safely have our residents explore the river via canoe, kayak, stand-up paddleboard, motorboat, or a bicycle along the way. And so the possibilities are endless.
Good. Thank you, David, and thanks for the plug about Adventure Crew. I'm on the board of the organization, helped us start. It grew out of Green Umbrella, and we have the high schools in Newport, Covington, Ludlow, Dayton, and Bellevue all have clubs with paid faculty advisors that get those urban teens out into nature once a month to paddle on the Little Miami, to cycle on the Little Miami Trail or other trails, to go camping, to go fishing, to go skiing, a perfect north. So every month the kids have a chance to spend a full day at no cost to them, going out and about and doing those outdoor recreational activities. And then when young people find their passion, we help them get summer jobs with the park districts in the region. And we'd love to collaborate more with Northern Kentucky Parks because you have a 15 or 16-year-old young person who loves to be outdoors. They are perfect people for part-time summer jobs, who in turn can prepare them for a career in outdoor recreation, natural resources management, environmental science. So I just wanted to give that particular plug.
Brewster, I mentioned we had Megan Bancamper from Senator McConnell's office. We also have Bob Porter from Congressman Massey's office. Those folks have been so very supportive of what we've tried to do here at South Bank over the years, along with Billy Matthews from Rand Paul's office and others from the governor's office. So I want to give a shout out to them because of all the support that they've given to us over time.
Well, we're very grateful for our elected officials on both sides of the aisle who understand the importance for economic and community development of these kind of initiatives that South Bank you guys have been doing for years. We're just trying to basically spread the word about why this stuff is important. That is trails leading to more travel and tourism, more tourism, and more activity that's healthy recreation for people who live there and plus people who move in. So nothing makes these communities more attractive to residents and tourists than to have recreational opportunities in their own backyard. And so much of that is possible by the support of the federal and state governmental entities.
You know, Jack,
thank you.
you know, Richard Harrison mentioned early on this effort called the Ohio River Basin Plan 2020 to 2025 that the Army Corps of Engineers and Orsenco and the Ohio River Basin Alliance just completed. And over the next 2 years, one of the goals is to really work with our elected officials at the federal level and state level to really highlight the overall Ohio River Basin. When we think about it, what the Army Corps has done, say, in the Great Lakes Initiative, about $10 billion in the past several years have been spent for ecological restoration, recreational development, in a dedicated funding source just for the Great Lakes. The same thing's going on with the Chesapeake Bay Authority, all funded and in part dedicated funding through the federal system. And so it's under Richard's leadership that a group of people, 6 different working groups over the next 2 years, are putting together this plan to say what are the needs that could access a dedicated funding stream. And maybe, Richard, you could give a plug for the Ohio River Basin Plan and what impact that could have for the South Bank partners.
Well, certainly. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. We are planning a media release Wednesday throughout the basin. I've been coordinating with our 15 states, making sure the governor's offices are aware of what we're working towards, and this is really exciting times. Recreation is a big piece of it, and highlighting really the remarkable improvements that we've had in our waterways, but the work that we have ahead of us and the funding, what we could do with $100 million a year of dedicated funding is just incredible, because we do have a lot of challenges. So we'll be working more with that, and I'll certainly work through Jack to keep everyone in the loop. If that works for everyone, Jack's amazing, and South Bank, so that just seems like a really effective partnership, which is part of the reason we're here this evening. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Richard. And I'd like to throw it back to Jack. And Jack, if you'd like to open it up to any questions or especially comments or feedback, again, we'd love to have every entity within Northern Kentucky, nonprofit as well as governmental entity, become an official partner with us, which is just a next step in connecting to the project.
Thank you, Brewster. I do want to have questions and answers. Technologically speaking, I'm not sure how this occurs with the Zoom process, but I guess the best way to do it would be say your name and then say the person who you'd like to ask the question to or make your comment. And we'll try not to talk over one another any more than we just have to. So if you have a question, just say your name. When I was a school teacher and I asked for questions and I didn't get any, I always thought I did the greatest job that could ever be done so far as teaching in the classroom, or I had everybody so confused they didn't know what the hell they were asking about.
Well, Jack, maybe a question would be, what would you like us to do differently or more of? Is there any better way we can help promote what you all are about?
I think the best takeaway that we can have for the day's meeting is I want everybody on our side of the river to know and understand how, number one, we're all wanting to partner together. I think that's a great takeaway for this first get together. Richard called me and said, hey, would you like to work together with me on this? And I jumped on it. And so we've been talking back and forth through email, and I want to give him an opportunity to have some final say. So before we quit for the evening, but I want our folks to understand how highly organized you all are. And we feel very good that you have reached out to us, because we feel like that we're fairly well organized and trying to do some things. And what it does, it creates a critical mass of a lot of exciting things going on. And I think that's the second takeaway. I want people to leave this meeting tonight excited about what's going on both sides of the river and the river itself. So those are the kinds of things that I look forward to people taking away from us. Richard, how about you? Do you have feelings in that direction?
I do, and just really greatly appreciate everyone being on here. And if I may, Brewster, Jack, and David, Dave Rudders, Bridget Taylor is one of my co-workers. I didn't introduce her. She's one of our great environmental scientists. She has volunteered to help provide some professional support. And then also Heather Mayfield, executive director of our foundation, is on. And so if we just left an offer, if you could reach out to Jack, don't obviously, maybe not obviously, but in the next 30 days, we're not going to be able to add 7 river cities and all of their features to the plan. But David, Rudders, Bridget Taylor, if we can work with you and really help, I know to David that, and it's a very user-friendly feature to add things. But if we, one of my goals is that we develop a process for really bringing a community on board to the trail system. So if you reach out to David, we will follow up with you, arrange a reasonable time frame to work to add features. Bridget or David, somebody in David's office, we can work with you to help add your features to the trail system, walk through that, and then certainly the partnership. I think this is hopefully going to be just an awesome project for the river. I am so proud of the river and really the great resource it is. And so this is just a wonderful opportunity. Again, just thanks to everyone.
And Richard and Jack, if I could just say, I think it's so important that we all recognize the importance of the tributaries. And I've been working with John at pre-COVID, especially on the Jacob Spears Licking River Bourbon Trail, which is a powerful concept. And when you combine what is going on with that potential with the Little Miami, the Great Miami, even the Mill Creek, we have this nexus of tributaries that all flow into the Ohio, but all of which are paddleable year round. In fact, there's no other metropolitan area in America that has as many rivers, including the Mill Creek, that you can paddle year round. We are unique in America in that regard. They're all within a short paddling distance from our central core. And it's an asset that is, I think, it gives us the ability to attract people who want to explore these tributaries, their histories, what's on the Underground Railroad, Civil War, Revolutionary War, early pioneers, whatever, bourbon makers, right, John? So it's a tremendous potential. We are anxious to help promote what the tributaries are doing, their digital guides, and link directly to them as well. So thank you.
John, do you want to speak to that just a little bit?
I think most of the folks here I've drug into this one way or another, but the bottom line is as somebody who's fairly uneducated on this subject, especially compared to Brewster and the folks he's working with. I mean, we're working with the College of Informatics at NKU to develop more of an app-driven concept. The concept with the app is it would drive both for tourism and environmental assistance. In an ideal world, if you were paddling and you saw a tire, you could snap a photo of it and the location and picture would be uploaded to the appropriate solid waste coordinator in each community. Our first little segment we're working on is the 122 miles from Paris to the Ohio River. Senator Chris McDaniel has been a huge supporter. He acquired a $150,000 appropriation in the most recent budget. Unfortunately, we're still 7 months into extricating that appropriation from the state treasury. But once we have it, we are going to put out an RFP to study the 122 miles from Paris to the Ohio River. We'd actually like to do 2 studies, but the first one will be very technical in nature, focused on the water between Paris and the Ohio and the adjoining corridor, riparian corridor. And if we have money left over with that or have to get a second appropriation, our goal then is to do a little bit more of a strategic study on the tourism opportunities in the corridor. But certainly have worked with a number of you all going forward. And we did kind of like most other folks slam into a brick wall when COVID-19 rolled in. But we've picked ourselves kind of up off the ground and are much like everybody else figuring out how to go forward under the current working environment that we have. But I will add where, you know, I've been told, and I know that there's a little bit of fluidity in the adjustment of these numbers. Kentucky has, at least by some counts, the second most navigable miles of water in the United States after Alaska. And so our goal with developing the app with NKU is to be able to pitch it to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We kind of see the Appalachian Trail as a little bit of a model. And with the app will not only be able to handle tourism and environment, but also document your completion of segments of the trail. And we know there are folks like Brewster that if you give them 1,900 miles to paddle, they will set off to paddle all 1,900 miles. So we would love to have a app for the entire Commonwealth that would permit adventurous types to go out and pursue the completion of paddling all of Kentucky's navigable waterways.
You know, that's fascinating. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife just started a new service. They have the Islands in the Ohio River National Wildlife Refuge, and they just started a kayak challenge that goes from Pittsburgh on down to Manchester, Ohio, with the intent that stop at every single one of the 22 islands they own, take a photograph and send it on in, and you get a special award from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So I think those pieces are just so very, very important. It recognizes the value.
Yeah.
My final comment is that I think what you Southbank partners are doing is really a model. And one of our challenges is how can we really represent success? And I think you guys are success. And so how can we promote you as a model for up and down the 981 miles of the Ohio River? And Richard suggested this earlier, and I just think, you know, if there's a way of packaging what Southbank partners have done, it could be so valuable for all of our states up and down the Ohio River, because you are it, you know, and sometimes you don't see what's in your own backyard, but from looking at all of the other cities up and down the river, the Southbank partners are the model. So I just wanted to congratulate you, and I'd love to figure out how to promote your work to all the other communities up and down the river and how they can collaborate together to enhance not only the river access, but the physical health and the pride that you have in the river. And so that's the essence of it.
Hey, Jack, I'm sorry, I see. Go ahead.
Very kind of him to say that. And it really is directly related to all of our cities being willing to leave their egos at the door and roll up their sleeves and do what it takes to be successful. We are only as successful as our cities are successful. So it has not much to do with me at all. It has everything to do with the leadership in our cities.
Well, Jack, you do such an amazing job, but everybody recognizes you're the maestro of collaboration over there and coordination. And just before we leave, I see that Andrea Ireland with the National Park Service just got on board here. And just to say hi to everybody, Andrea, I think we've spelled out everything, and thanks so much for joining us. But
yeah,
we've been talking behind your back.
Sorry I'm late. I was on another call, but I really wanted to join in and just say that it's a really exciting opportunity to be able to partner with you all and the great work that you've been doing. I've seen what's been going on down there because I was involved with the Tri-State Trails initiative that Brewster was involved with a long time ago. It seems like a long time ago. And I'm really excited to be working with them again on the Ohio River Recreation Trail and see all the potential for that and what we're doing with the Rivertown reviews. And it looks like you all are already doing a Rivertown initiative that we can probably pull some great examples from and carry that throughout the entire ORRT footprint as well. So I'm representing the National Park Service. We are working in conjunction with ORRT, but you certainly could reach out to us as far as technical assistance program. Russ Clark is in the Kentucky area, and he has worked on the Licking River, I believe, Greenway and Blueway, when he first came on to working with River Trails Conservation Assistance. So consider that as a possibility for future project technical assistance.
One final opportunity for questions before there is no penalty for quitting early, I guess, Brewster.
Fantastic. I love it. Good job.
But I do want to make sure that anyone who has a comment or a question gets the opportunity. So we'll ask for any comments or questions before we call this to an end. Richard, any final thoughts?
Only final thought, great folks here. Andrea, Brewster, if anybody would like to reach out, I can certainly point you in the right direction. Just let Jack know, and Jack can get the info to us, and then we can get in touch with you. That way you don't have to remember all these different names and links and things. So just again, to repeat that offer.
Yeah. Thanks to all the people that presented tonight too, because it's pretty easy to see that this is a labor of love for all of you. It's not something that will make any of us rich, but it's going to leave the communities that we serve a lot better off when we're finished. I know that. So thank you all very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, folks.